just MailChimped my marketing.
You MailChimped your what?
I MailChimped my marketing with AI to create an effective marketing campaign in minutes.
No, MailChimp and Way.
Yes, MailChimp in Way. Now I can hyper-personalize my campaigns across email and SMS.
You can do all that with MailChimp?
What did I just MailChimp and say?
MailChimp your marketing with the #1 AI-powered email marketing and automation platform, Intuit MailChimp. #1 based on publicly available data on competitors' customers. Plans vary. SMS available as add-ons. Visit MailChimp.com.
This episode is brought to you by United Airlines. When you want to make the most of your vacation, book with United. They're an airline that cares about your travels as much as you do. United is transforming the flying experience with Bluetooth connectivity, screens, power at every seat, and bigger overhead bins to help fit everyone's bag. And with their app, you can skip the bag check line, get live updates, and more. Change the way you fly. Book your next trip today at united.com.
Hey Lex, what's up?
Hi.
Welcome to the show. Back to the show.
Thank you. Hello.
I think that this is your 11th appearance.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Do you feel like how does that make you feel?
I don't know. It's static.
Oh, goody. Okay, cool. When I put on my Instagram story, I'm recording with everyone's favorite guest. A lot of people guessed you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, which isn't a surprise.
I don't even know what we have to talk about for 11 times.
I don't know. We talk all day, every day.
Yeah.
I'm kind of glad that we haven't talked much this morning.
Yeah.
Because we'll have more to
Just
talk about,
save
I
it.
think. We had a very productive morning, or at least I did. I feel like I got a lot done.
I didn't.
Oh. What were you doing on your computer?
Looking at jobs.
Oh.
But everything was like PF Chang's and like Home Depot. I don't want to do that.
Low-key Home Depot might be fun.
I already have a committed relationship. I don't need like a construction man. It just smells good in there because it smells like wood. But like,
Yeah.
we'll figure it out.
All right. Well, today we are talking all about things that we learned working in the restaurant industry. Lexie's been in the industry for a long time.
Yeah. I started working when I was 13.
You begged mom and dad to let you work.
Mm-hmm. I worked in an ice cream shop. I worked on the beach doing umbrellas. I worked at a restaurant in Ocean City. And then I've worked at 2 restaurants in Annapolis.
Yeah. And hospitality and serving is something that you're really, really good at.
Thank you.
Do you think that it's something that you've been called to do, or something that you just think like comes naturally to you?
I think it's one of my gifts, my spiritual gifts. I took a quiz not too long ago. It's one of them.
Really? What else did the quiz tell you?
Teaching, hospitality. Let me see if I can pull it up. It's like in my...
I want to take this quiz. This was cool. Was it a spiritual gifts quiz?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Faith, discernment, service, teaching. Anyway, yeah, hospitality. Show. Like when I was growing up, like I was like, oh my gosh, I would love to be a cruise director.
Yeah. You've always kind of had that like hospitality drive in you. Where do you think that stems from?
I have no idea. Like because you guys always made me play the maid. We played hotel. Yeah, we would play hotel when our grandparents or like aunts and uncles would go. Marley and Lily always made me play the maid and be like finishing up the bed and like placing the mints when they walked in.
Oh, that's hilarious. Now though, I feel like, oh, that's so funny. No, I think that you liked doing that.
Okay.
I don't know what your little quiz says, but I just looked up hospitality as a spiritual gift is the ability to make people feel welcome and accepted and create settings where relationships can flourish. I think that really reflects you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, the divine ability to make people feel welcomed and accepted.
Mm-hmm.
Where's a piece of scripture about this, though? That's funny. Is hospitality a spiritual gift? Does that mean that I'm off the hook? Like if I'm not good at it. That's funny. This says, although Paul mentions in Romans 12, it's not the actual gift list, like teaching, serving, and faith. It's not mentioned in 1 Corinthians or Ephesians 4. So no, hospitality is not a spiritual gift, but yes, it's a way to serve the body of Christ. Although I think like hospitality and serving
service
go hand in hand.
Yeah.
And I definitely think that, at least for me, serving in a restaurant has really shifted my heart, because people are inherently selfish. And so it's really shifted my heart to just be more servant oriented. I mean, even so much so that like we followed in obedience to start Run Club. And like that's something that we just give our time freely to, and give our energy freely to, and give our resources freely to. And obviously serving in a restaurant is a different type of serving, because you are doing it for a job. But at the same time, I think the best servers are the ones who can meet the customer's needs in a joyful and loving way, rather than just bringing them their food.
Yeah. Well, today's topic is things that we learned working in a restaurant. I made a list last night.
Okay.
So you can just rip it off the dome.
Okay.
If that's cool.
Yeah.
Cool. I guess we'll pause, we'll backtrack. If you don't know this about Lexie and me, we worked, past tense now because they're moving to Baltimore. We both worked at Pusser's, the iconic waterfront, really the only public waterfront restaurant in Annapolis for the past 30 years until Chop Tank came in. And it was so much fun. We had a blast, and you can chime in here. You started working there before I did. When I left my 9-to-5 marketing job, I was like, dang, I have the podcast, but I need something else. And Lexie was like, why don't you just serve at Pusser's with me? And I vowed to like never work in a restaurant, because people had always told me that it wasn't for me, which I thought was like kind of silly, because I feel like I kind of thrived.
Yeah.
And so we had a lot of fun. It was awesome. It was a great 3 years for you. And now long story short, lease negotiations, whatever, a new company came in and was like, hey, we want to use that space, because it was attached to a hotel. And long story short, the restaurant that we worked at Pusser's, they're moving to Baltimore, which is awesome. We may or may not like pop in and occasionally work, but it's just about an hour away, and we're just not really like, it's 5 minutes from our house right now. So like, why would we move, or why would we commute an hour to work there? So anyway, we are kind of both wrapping up our restaurant industry careers, or at least kind of trying to.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't want to go back to a restaurant. It's easy money, but I just like, I'm over it.
Yeah.
And I move on.
I think what was so cool about Pusser's is the community of people there, and how even like when we were there on Saturday night, everywhere we turned was someone that we knew, whether it was a fellow employee or a friend. And I think that just like it was the spot that everybody went to.
Yeah.
And it was very casual and very fun. And working there it was exactly what I needed at that point in my life, because I was so sad. And it made me so social. It made me like, okay, being around food again and all this other stuff. And I just feel like it was so good for me. And so I wanted to do an episode and feature Lex here too, because, you even have your Pusser's sweatshirt on. Did you do that on purpose? And just talk about our experience working in a restaurant, because as someone who does like a million different things, like I have I wish I had a million different streams of income, but I just do a lot of different things. And I feel like working in a restaurant was such a cool way to make money, but also have the flexibility to do a bunch of other things. And I would totally recommend it to anyone and everyone who wants to kind of venture out and do and try a bunch of different things. What did you like most about working at Pusser's?
Oh, what did I like most? I don't know. I agree with you. Like, the people are awesome. Like, the management was always really good. And it just became like a family. Like, whether you worked there for a year or 15 years, like, everybody just cared about one another. Whether it felt like that in the moment or not, like, they genuinely do care. But yeah, I would agree with you. Like, the people, the flexibility of everything. But yeah, like the other day when we were in there, it was just so funny because we brought Marley, our older sister, and then our brother-in-law and one of their friends, and it was just so funny because we were trying to leave and it took about like 30 minutes to leave because we just kept seeing more people that we knew, like whether they were coworkers or just like Annapolis people. It was just funny.
It was, and it was just like so cute. It kind of made me sad though. Like, even walking out, we saw a friend and we were just like, hey, and then big hugs, and it's gonna be sad, like not having that.
And I think now, I mean, Lex and I are looking for other opportunities, and I think I'm definitely dipping my toe back into like the real like traditional professional lifestyle, because I do value my, you know, career development, but it's just sad because it really is the end of an era.
It just feels weird because for so long it was like, oh, just like I have pussers. But like now it's like, no, I don't. And I don't know, like I have other things for me, and I've always been like juggling jobs, but I also just like, I really don't want to work anywhere else just because Pussers was so great.
Yeah. I would agree with that. And not
any other restaurant, that is.
Yeah. I agree. And I think it was just so relaxed, not in like a bad way or like like a nonchalant or like no one cares kind of way, but in the way of like the management really had our backs. And I think that was one of the first times in my like professional and like career that the management like really wanted to see us thrive.
Yeah.
And like wanted us to like go and venture and like get other opportunities. Like last summer when all of a sudden I was like flying out to LA and doing Spotify stuff, like everyone scrambled to like help me cover my shifts. And like everybody bought the book when it came out. And it was just so cool because I was like, dang, like you guys actually like want to see me thrive. That's like really, really cool. It wasn't competitive. It was just, I don't know, like everyone.
It's just like family aspect kind of thing.
Yeah. It was just really sweet. Yeah. So because of that, working in a restaurant has really taught me a bunch of things, and I'm sure it's taught you a bunch of things too. And I thought that'd be kind of fun to, like a lot of transferable skills, things that I know that I can take into other jobs and just like into life. And I felt like it'd be kind of fun to like list some of those off and like share some funny stories. That's funny. So, I mean, you guys know her, Olivia Eve. This is totally off topic. I had my phone on Do Not Disturb, and she just texted me back about something because we're going to record like next month. But she said, I can do all of those dates. And then in all caps, she goes, I'm so sorry. I just disturbed accidentally. Like, you know, when you can hit like notify anyway. Yeah. She goes, sorry, I just disturbed accidentally. That's hilarious. She's so cute. Okay. So things I learned working in a restaurant. First, I feel like this is kind of an obvious one, but how to deal with any and anyone regardless of the situation.
Anyone and everyone.
Anyone and everyone, regardless of the situation. I think you really are it's kind of just like luck of the draw. I don't know if it's luck of the draw, but like you just kind of have to work with whoever you're scheduled with, and you have to serve whoever is sitting in your section. And you don't get to pick either of those things. And so you're just kind of like, these are the circumstances for today, and this is the situation, and I'm gonna hustle as hard as I can to make as much money as I possibly can, given these two things, whether you're in like the best section in the restaurant or the worst section in the restaurant. At least I always came to work. I mean, obviously sometimes you have bad days, but I always try to come into work with the mindset of like, I'm going to try to make a ton of money today.
Yeah.
And not everyone goes in with that mindset. And so if you're working with people who are maybe like trying to give tables away or just not really like in it to win it that day, like then that's kind of, you can work that to your advantage. Energy is contagious sometimes. So as long as you kind of put your horse blinders on and just like do what you need to do.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like you can definitely like learn how to put your shield up of just like protecting your own like attitude and energy, and knowing that like whatever somebody else is dealing with doesn't have to be your problem too. And like you can be compassionate and like help them through whatever it is. But like, yeah, if they're just like complaining, you don't have to fall into the trap of complaining with them. You can just be like, okay, well, what can I do to help you? And then all of a sudden you have like a mega section because they don't want to take tables because they're mad that day or whatever. And then that works to your advantage because now you can make double the money.
Yeah. Well, and then that goes for customers too. Like sometimes you get people and they come in and they sit down and they have a bad attitude. And most of the time they're just hungry. Most of the time they're just really, really hungry. And so at that point I'm like, you guys want to put in an appetizer right now just to get things started? And then most of the time they're like, crab dip. And then you're like, okay, that's perfect because that comes out really fast. But then sometimes people just sometimes have a bad attitude in general.
Yeah.
And I think that working in a restaurant really taught me like how to put up a shield and not really let that impact me, because energy is truly contagious. But I think that when you are just given these circumstances of, hey, this person just has a bad attitude, they're going to be rude no matter where they go. They're going to be rude no matter what server they get.
Yeah.
You learn how to deal with that and you learn how to overcome that.
Mm-hmm. Learning how to just like be witty and making stuff up on the fly.
Yeah.
Like not lying to people, but like kind of. It's like just people ask the most absurd things and you gotta pretend like you're not caught off guard.
True.
You gotta be like, oh yeah, like let me go check. And then you just gotta laugh with your coworkers for a second and then go back and be like, yeah, I know, we're out of that. Or
Literally.
yeah, I don't know. Management's not in right now, but you know, I can leave them a note or something.
What's the craziest thing that someone's ever said to you?
Oh, I have no idea. I don't know. I mean, last week people were being like really aggressive about Puzzers closing. And then right now, Puzzers is like selling pretty much all of the artwork and like whether it's a painting or like photography or like ship models, whatever. You name it, Puzzers is selling it. And they put together this whole like catalog and it launched like like mid-September. And people came in during the boat show last week, so early October. And like back to back, people were like, I can't believe I didn't know about this. I can't believe everything's pretty much sold. Like, it's so rude of you guys to sell everything before we got to take a look. And I was like, what? And then they were like, it just doesn't make sense why you would sell everything before the boat show because now everything's gone and we can't buy it. And I was just like, okay, well, the boat show's like our last 2 weeks, so we just kind of want to make sure everything's out and taken care of before our lease is up and we gotta like be done. And they didn't like that answer. I think they were just mad they didn't know about it.
Yeah. But that's on them.
And she was
but
like,
then they take it out on you.
Yeah. The woman was like, well, you guys didn't put it anywhere. And I was like, yeah, there's some flyers around. It was
I think it was on Facebook too.
Yeah, I said it was on all the social media. It was on the website. I don't know. Maybe she just wanted like a personalized email or something.
She was mad that she didn't know about it.
Yeah. And like the cool stuff wasn't even for sale anyway. Like so many people were asking about specific pieces and they weren't even for sale anyway. And so I don't know. They're like, I'm sure that one got bought up real quick. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, oh yeah, I know it wasn't for sale. The owners would keep it. And they're like, well, what are they going to do with it? And I'm like,
we're probably going to put it in the new restaurant.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then because Puzzers is moving to Canton, which is like on the other side of Baltimore, that was...
your little Maryland accent was about to come. You must say Baltimore.
That was like accessible through the key bridge that fell down.
Yeah.
Yeah, this guy came up to me and was like yelling at me and saying, like actually yelling and saying how...
Okay, wait, time out. Mind you, poor Lexie, we got to backtrack. Poor Lexie was hosting last week because she sprained her ankle.
Yeah.
And
at Puzzers doing the Dallas Cowboys kick line.
Lexie was dancing and you had a bad landing.
Yeah.
You had a bad landing.
Yeah, I totally rolled my ankle. Totally just...
It was huge and bruised. Career-ending injury.
Ended my dancing career.
Your dancing and your Puzzers career.
Yeah, for real, because I think that day was my last Puzzers shift because as a server / bartender.
Unknowingly.
Yeah. Because then the last 2 days I hosted, and so I just sat in a chair.
So Lexie was up at the front. She's dealing with all the people. She's doing a great job. She's in so much pain, and you're putting on a smiling face and greeting people.
Well, like low key, like a good thing I was up there because those poor hosts are like 14, 15, 16 years old. They don't need to deal with people yelling at them. No. They don't know what's going on. They don't need people asking them absurd questions.
Well, and they're so sweet, and their job is to just see people.
Yeah.
And then you have hangry, mean,
weird old guys coming up.
That's the thing that I will not miss is the weirdos.
Yeah. And it was very like few and far between that somebody made me like really, really uncomfortable. But when they did, I was not about it.
No.
And like probably the weirdest thing that happened to me was this group of old guys. There was like 4 of them. This was like 2 summers ago. Well, no, probably my 2nd year working there. So yeah, like 2 summers ago. And it was a group of 4 old guys, and they were just saying disgusting things to me and like catcalling me when I walked by.
Disgusting.
Yeah, it was disgusting. And so I told the managers, and I was like, these people are really gross. And luckily these dudes weren't there for very long. I think they got some drinks and appetizers, and then
But still, that's disgusting.
Oh.
And they probably treat every server that they have like that.
Oh, absolutely.
That's the really sad part.
But by the time I was able to tell somebody about it, they were asking for their check. And so the manager took the check to them and just stood there, and then got the card, ran the card, brought it back, and he was like, never come back here, like, you're disgusting. Basically told them to get out and don't come back. Which is also one of the reasons why I really enjoyed working there, because if something like that happened,
They always had our backs.
they had no questions asked. They just went and like took care of the situation.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. You might say all kinds of stuff when things go wrong, but these are the words you really need to remember. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. They've got options to fit your unique insurance needs, meaning you can talk to your agent to choose the coverage you need, have coverage options to protect the things you value most, file a claim right on the State Farm mobile app, and even reach a real person when you need to talk to someone. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
It's Croctober, the official celebration of Crocs fans like you. So whether you like to rock your classic clogs, get cozy and fuss-lined, personalize with your favorite Jibbitz charms, or even, dress up like a clog for Halloween, it's time to tell your story and share your style. Join the Croctober celebration with Crocs fans around the world. Go to crocs.com to discover the range of shoes and find a pair that's iconic like you. Crocs, celebrating you all month long.
Anyway, so your story about hosting, and the guy was mad that you're moving to Baltimore.
Yeah, the guy was just angry that we were going to Baltimore because the Key Bridge had fallen down. And I was like, well, the bridge doesn't have anything to do with the restaurant. And then he was like, well, no one's going to come there because it's so far away and you got to go all the way around. I was like, oh, well, Pussers isn't. I was also like acting so stupid. I was like, oh, well, Pussers isn't going to open until like. He was like, well, the bridge isn't going to be up by then. And I was like, yeah, sure. But the bridge and Pussers aren't related. And he was like, well, and he was just screaming at me about the bridge falling down. I was like, this has nothing to do with it. And also, Pussers doesn't expect their Annapolis crowd to be their regulars anymore. Right. They're going to start a whole new thing and get new people, and sure, they're going to be excited when they see the Annapolis people come in, but they're not going to expect them to be their customers anymore because that's just how it goes.
I mean, right now in our friend group, how often do you hear, hey, let's go to Baltimore for dinner?
Yeah, no one does that.
Never. Unless it's like, hey, let's go to an Orioles game or something. Mm-hmm. I think to my original point, working in a restaurant really taught me how to respond to any situation, and also how to spot a weirdo coming a mile away.
Yeah, true.
And how to
like be so aware.
Yeah, how to be hyper aware and how to de-escalate a situation before it gets. I mean, I'm not perfect, but I feel like I've seen. I don't know. I feel like we've been put in enough like just I don't know if unique's the right word, but been put in enough like social situations where like you can kind of read the room and know like, all right, this is a good thing to say here, and this will kind of like de-escalate this, or like this is what this person needs to hear right now to like not make things more serious than they already are.
Yeah, true.
Kind of stuff like that.
Yeah. And like, I don't know, we say all this to say like, I don't know, I feel like some restaurants are like bad news to work at because it's like so rowdy and dangerous. But I feel like because Pussers has the atmosphere it does, like with the employees all having each other's backs, then they really have like the customers' backs. So like the bouncers, they like scan the room, and if somebody even looks like they could be a problem starter, they kick them out.
They have everyone's safety in mind.
Yeah. It ended up being like such a well-rounded, like safe business because everyone like cared about each other. And then because the employees cared about each other, then they cared about the customers.
Yeah. Okay. Point number 2 is it really is the little things that make the guest experience. Like I feel like I've learned so many little like hospitality tips and tricks that could be applied in any job to enhance the guest experience. And you know, I think one of my first training shifts, you were training me and you knew that this table was about to ask for their check. So you printed it, you put it in a book, and then you put it in your apron. And when we walked up to the table, they were like, yeah, can we just get our check? And you're like, yep, of course. And they pulled out your apron, put it on the table. And then they're like, whoa, it's like you knew. And you're like, I did know.
Yeah.
And just stuff like that make people, it's like doing something for someone before they even know that they need it yet. Mm-hmm. It's just already done and already taken care of. And I think that my best days where I made the most money in tips, but also the ones where I just had the most fun with the guests were the times when I was on my A game.
Yeah.
And really being forward thinking and making sure that these people had the best dinner or the best time on Dock Bar that day, you know?
Yeah, for sure. And even just like, yeah, like little things like that. Like if they order an appetizer, just bring them plates before it comes out. Mm-hmm. If they order a hamburger, give them ketchup before.
Yeah.
Like, just like random stuff like that.
Yeah. One of my favorite things to do was if someone orders a bottle of champagne, once I bring it back, I would always ask them, oh, are we celebrating something? And then if they said yes, I would ask them more about whatever that thing is as I'm undoing the paper on the champagne bottle, which by the way, but take the paper off the wine before you even arrive at the table. Mm-hmm. But sometimes if I was busy and just forgot, as I'm talking to them and taking the paper off, I would ask them more about the thing. And then once I got the little cage off the cork, I would ask them if they wanted to pop the bottle, which I don't know if that's like, you know, classic hospitality stuff. If you're supposed to do that, you're probably not. But on Dock Bar, where everything was so casual, the women loved that. They were like, woohoo, yeah, of course I want to pop it. And they're like, just don't spray it. And so most of the time they would be like, thank you so much. That's so fun. And they would just get so excited because they get to like participate in it. And then obviously they'd hand it back to me and I would pour their glasses, but it just was fun for them because they got to pop the bottle as they're celebrating. So just like little things like that involve them in the experience if they want to be involved and make them feel excited about whatever they're celebrating or doing.
Yeah, that's cute.
Yeah. Do you have any fun little things like that?
I don't know. I always just try to have like a conversation with people. Like, obviously we're in Annapolis, so like a lot of people were Navy family. So I always try to like get a little conversation going because I can relate to that. Especially if the kid was there, I would talk to them and be like, hey, like, you know, whatever. Or like on Fridays when there would be a football game the next day, I'd be like, are you guys going to the game tomorrow? We'll have fun. Like stuff like that. Or I don't know. I always just try to have a conversation with people and like make them feel like I kind of care about them. I mean, sure, yeah, I care about them, but like having conversation with strangers is important. But like even when you're like super busy, it just doesn't go unnoticed.
Yeah, I agree. Have you ever told the story on the podcast about how we met?
No, but that's just a funny pusser story. That's also like we know so many people because of pussers.
Yeah.
Like
I think that all of our friendships are because of pussers.
Like in some way. Like I'm literally in a relationship with Garrison because of pussers. Because we met Megan at pussers. Yeah. And Megan, we wouldn't have met Megan at pussers. I mean, we wouldn't have met Megan without pussers. And then Megan introduced me to Gary. So it's just like so funny. And then like, yeah, like that. We had a big friend group. Like last year, now they're all moved away, but we had met in like the strangest way. In February, we were in another friend's house that again has moved away, and a big group of guys came in to tour this house, and we only were introduced to one of the dudes, and it was just
because he introduced himself to us. Yeah. Everybody else ignored that we were even there. We were standing in the kitchen eating granola or something like that.
Yeah. And then whatever.
They were so awkward.
It was literally like a 2-second conversation, like whatever. And then I was serving in April and it was all nice outside. So the tables were outside. People were sitting, whatever. And I had this big table of about like 7 guys. They were celebrating a birthday, and I was just, doing my thing, serving the table. And the whole time I was like, I feel like I've seen these dudes before. And that's super common here because all the midshipmen look exactly the same, but they all have the same haircut. None of them can have facial hair. They all like have like 3 different styles of build. Like that's it. So, anywho, again, this big 7 top is sitting there, and the whole time I'm like, I know that guy, but I really don't know how. And it wasn't like I was like trying to flirt with them or anything. I literally just was like, it's bothering me that I've met that guy, but I can't remember where, and I can't remember what his name is. So then I was in the inside portion of the restaurant, and another dude from the table walked up to me and gave me his card and said, hey, I really want to pay for this dinner. It's his birthday, whatever. I was like, okay, great. I took the credit card, put it in my server book, and that was that. And so in the privacy of my server station, I looked at the name on the credit card, and it was our now friend, Coleman. So I typed in Coleman into Instagram, and that name is pretty rare. And so, of course, it popped up right away, and he was an open account. And so then I was like, okay, great. Now
everyone's going to go to our Instagrams right now. Search up Coleman.
Yeah, for real. So then I was like, okay, great. This is an open account. Like,
he's going to get a ton of followers.
So then I looked at his pictures and his tagged in, and I found the other dude. And I was like, I'm such a stalker, but finally I figured it out. And then it all clicked. Like once I find that guy's account and his name, it all came back to me. And so then I went up to the table with the birthday dessert, and I was like, hey, happy birthday. Do you remember me? Like, this is so weird. And I was like, I know this is going to be so strange to hear, but this entire time I've been trying to figure out how I know you. And this is how I told the story again. And he was just laughing. And then from then on, we were all like best friends. And so I just think that's so cool because I have met so many people in that way.
Yeah. And it's just so cool that like how a quick casual conversation on Dock Bar could lead to a friendship.
Mm-hmm. Like he'll probably be invited to my wedding type of thing.
Yeah.
Like all those guys.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just think that's super cool.
I feel like Annapolis is a small town and it's tough to meet people. And I attribute a lot of my friendships butting at Pussers just because of how easy it is to meet people. And I also think like you and I were kind of at an advantage because I don't really like to go out.
Sorry, that was so loud.
No, you're fine. Lexie was taking the ice off of her ankle. I don't really like to go out. I mean, I enjoy an occasional evening on the town, but I would prefer to be in bed by like 9 or 10.
Yeah.
And I think that working in the restaurant gave us the opportunity to go and be social, but also just be on the clock. And so we kind of had a good excuse to be like, oh, I was working all day, but like, good to see you guys. I'm going to head home, and no one really cared.
And for a long time, I was the youngest in the group, so I wasn't 21. But because I was working, I could stay and hang out and like chit chat to a bunch of people that we're friends with. But yeah, it's just so funny. Like our best friends, or some of the people that we had like the best times with, it's like inadvertently through Pussers. And that's how a lot of our coworkers are too, though. Like a lot of their friends are because of Pussers, or their relationships are because of Pussers.
Or their wives or husbands are because of Pussers, which is really cool.
Like there's multiple couples who met at Pussers, dated, got married, still work there kind of thing.
Yeah, it's awesome. The third thing that I've learned working in a restaurant is how to manage emotions and stress when the pressure's really on.
Ooh. Yeah, but that's really hard because some days you just cannot get it together.
Some days you just cry.
And you go up to your tables with tears streaming down your face. And everybody's done it.
Nothing to be ashamed of.
Oh, no. I do it again.
I would do it time and time again. I mean, I remember one time I had to go home early because I couldn't stop crying.
Yeah.
And because sometimes you just get those days where people are just mean. And sometimes you just can't help but take it personally. And then other days, stuff just rolls off your back and you just don't care.
Yeah, it's so weird.
It's so weird. But I think like my two biggest failures would probably be when I dropped an entire tray of drinks on one singular person. That was like
on the person?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It was like beers, martinis, like it was a table. It was
so they were soaking wet.
Oh yeah.
Oh wow.
Like needed new pants.
Well, I dropped a whole tray. It was like I dropped 2 trays. It was 14 glasses. It was waters. It was sodas. It was beer. It was wine. Like, you name it, I dropped it.
Yeah.
And like the entire foyer was just covered in liquid and glass. And I was like, can I please get the video? But they didn't have cameras facing that way, which is kind of a flaw because it was literally the walkway, like the main entrance. But
yeah. No, but it's happened to everybody. And I do think though, like I've gotten a lot better at managing my stress and emotions because of the things that I've learned at Pussers. Like I can take that out of the restaurant, but some days you just don't have it in you.
Yeah, exactly.
And I've had times where I've had to look at grown adults and tell them, don't talk to me like that. Or I've had to look at grown adults and say, don't touch me. Or I've had to look at grown adults and say, I will be right with you. Can you please stop yelling at me?
Yeah, you have to literally treat them like children.
Yeah.
But I think that is a lesson in itself of how to stand up for yourself. And it's okay to talk to people that way. You're not 5, so you're not being rude. You're just putting them in check.
Yeah, absolutely. But and that's a last resort. That's an absolute last resort. I had one table where,
wasn't there some lady who was grabbing you and Drew's shirts like as you walked by, like pulling you?
Yeah, being like, I need another beer. I'm like, no, you don't. No, you don't. But yeah, I had one table specifically. It was like 4 adults and I think probably like 4 kids. And in my section was, some days your section's kind of spread apart where you've got tables kind of scattered throughout. Other days your section's like all 4 of your tables are right in this vicinity. And it was one of those days where all 4 of my tables were right in the vicinity. Mm-hmm. And this bigger table was super needy, which you get sometimes. But my other tables, I don't really remember my other tables, but I was trying to give good service to everybody around me. And they're just being so rude. And they're starting to say weird things to me. And I don't even really remember what was said, but every time I'd walk by, the woman would start tugging on me. I'm like, I don't care if you're asking me for things, but don't touch me. Yeah. You can't touch me.
And where'd she learn that from?
Yeah.
Like that's when people do weird things and have bad behavior, I'm like, where did you learn that from? Like who taught you that was okay?
And who's been letting get away with that? And
how embarrassing for your other family members or the party you're with.
Yeah. And so I'm completely like my back is to this table and I'm serving another table, whether it was gathering their order or giving them drinks, whatever it was. And she is like from behind me, she's like, excuse me. And she reaches across the aisle and tugs on the back of my shirt. And I whip around and I said, I am with a table right now. I will be right with you. You need to be patient. And I was just like, am I talking to a 4-year-old right now? Yeah. And then my table that I was serving was like, we've been watching them this whole time. And that was completely rude of her to do. Like they totally had my back. They were like, do you need us to like help you in any way? Like, do you need us to like go grab your manager? Like they were really concerned. And I was like, no, it's okay. Like, I'll turn around and I'll be right with them. And so I turned around and I was like, yes, what can I get you? And then she asked for something complete. Like you would think that it was like a 911 emergency. Anyway, long story short, they did not tip me, which I was not surprised, but I just wanted them out. And then the guy was like, they like gave me some cash and then some card. And I always like to ask, like, is the cash for me? Is the card, do you want to apply the cash to the receipt or cash to the total and then put the rest on the card? So I'm trying to figure out the logistics of what you want me to do with the card. And he's like, no, apply the cash and I said it better than that, but he's like, no, apply the cash and then run the card. Do you need me to help you with it since you're so bad at your job?
Like, I can't believe that.
Yeah. And I was like, nah, I got it. And then I just walked back.
People are so ridiculous.
Yeah. But things like that, like I could have easily like busted into tears, but instead I just like composed myself and just said a little prayer and was just like, literally protect me from these crazy, crazy people. And there were some days, I mean, obviously we should be doing this the whole time, but some days where literally I would just pray through a whole shift because I'm like, there's nothing else that I can do right now.
Yeah.
Ah yes, the magnificent Trolley Sour Bright Crawler, also known as Trollicus brightolus. The worm's captivating neon colour makes it an easy gummy prey.
Trolly!
It's a surprisingly sour, invitingly chewy, staggeringly snackable species unlike anything else found on this planet.
Eat me!
Delicious. Visit Trolley.com to shop now.
Trolly, eat me!
In this ad for the Mobile One brand, I have 30 seconds to talk about driving, which might be what you're doing right now. Maybe you're in the car, you're free, you're in control, on an open road with an open calendar. Your mind is wandering, and you're going with it. Or maybe you're stuck at work, in meetings, or emails, or worse, meetings about emails. And if that's the case, there's only one question. Why? Mobile One, for the love of driving. Visit loveofdriving.us/radio to learn more.
It made me realize that not enough people worked in a restaurant because nobody understands that the tips are our paycheck and that's it.
Yeah.
If I have a table and their check is $100, $200, doesn't matter. If they don't give me anything, I still have to reach into my tip jar, my personal tip jar, and give the bar and the bus money. And so I don't think the general public understands that.
Well, and then also there's this whole thing right now about tipping culture.
Yeah.
And I think if you're at a place where the people make an hourly, say like an ice cream shop or a coffee shop, and you and I both worked in an ice cream shop, so say we made $10 an hour just to keep it even. Say we worked 8 hours that day, we're making $80. And then say we pulled $60 worth of tips. So we go home that day with, and it's just split between the two of us. We go home that day with $110. Okay, great. At a restaurant, you're making like $2 an hour, if that. And then you got the potential though to make hundreds of dollars if you have a ton of tables and it's super busy and you give good service. And so,
and get good people. You can give good service, but still not get tipped because people will tip you with their compliments. Like verbal tips.
Verbal
but I'm
tips,
like, that's so nice, but I actually have rent and bills. So
yeah. And so I think just being mindful in your day-to-day life of where you're going. Like if you're going to a sit-down restaurant, they're not making an hourly. No. Plain and simple.
No matter where you are.
They're not making an hourly.
And like most times until I was managing at Pussers and hosting some days, I really didn't receive a check, a pay. I just get my tips. That's it. So if you have a really good day in tips, you don't see that $2 an hour because it gets washed away because your tips were so high.
Yeah.
But I don't think enough people know that. And it's sad because a lot of people...
Well, and now because of the whole like tipping culture conversation, a lot of people are like, oh, well, I'm only going to tip 12% because, the tipping culture is out of control. It's like, no. It's out of control for these like walk up places, which I'm not saying don't throw your extra $1 in the jar.
Yeah.
If the person was, good, toss an extra $1 in the jar. But for a lot of people that work in restaurants, like that is their livlivelihood.
And that's literally
that is how they pay their bills. That's how I pay my college tuition. Yeah. Like that's how, so like, you just be mindful of where you're going and what you're doing. And if you don't have the budget to tip, then you don't have the budget to go out to eat.
Yeah. And a lot of people are like, well, it's so expensive to go out. And then they just ditch the tip. It's like, yeah, well, it's so expensive to live.
I will say though, the non-tippers are few and far in between.
Yeah.
For the most part, people tip at least 15%.
Yeah. I feel like this year has been the worst though.
I agree. But look at how money's being spent in general.
Yeah. Like I have run after people and been like, what did I do wrong?
Really?
And they just like walk away basically. They're like,
Wow.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Wow.
Like I've had multiple people like leave zero and I'm just like, what did I do wrong?
Yeah.
And they just like don't have an answer. Understanding it as far as like financially understanding it, but also like understanding that like the server taking your order is not the same one making your food.
Yeah.
And the server taking your order is not the same one who's making your drinks. It's it's a whole team effort, but the server gets like the brunt of the emotions from the customers. So it's just like, it sucks to bring somebody their food or their drink and then they complain to you and act like you're the one who did this, this, and this. And it's like, no, just don't shoot the messenger.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. And then I think that's just like when you have to like put your protective barriers up and just like, you know, make the experience better for them as they like wait for the mistake to be corrected or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. My fifth thing that I've learned is the most clever little one-liners. And I know that you have some, and I'm sure that they'll come to mind. My first one is that and these are for all my galleys who are servers currently, tuck these in your back pocket. When two dudes are fighting over the bill, because you know what's going to happen, like so-and-so takes so-and-so out to dinner and, you know, but they both want to pay. They both whip their credit cards out and they're fighting over the bill and who to give it to. My favorite thing to do is just say, all right, well then let's talk numbers. You know, if you guys want to fight over the bill, who's the better tipper? And of course, they're both going to be like, oh, it's me. And be like, all right, well, then let's talk numbers. Like 25%, 30%, 100%. Like, what are we talking? And just totally just like, you know, be funny and joking with them. If someone asks for something specific drink wise and you're not sure if you can make it, just tell them, yeah, of course, absolutely. If you're not sure what it is though, because some people, what did that woman say to me one time? She said something so obscure and I was like, remind me what's in that. And I think can I get a woohoo or something like that? Yeah. And she wanted me to go woohoo.
Yeah, that did happen.
But then I'm also like
a whoop whoop or something.
I think it was like a whoop whoop, like kind of got a whoop whoop. And I was like, remind me what's in that. And she was like, oh, never mind. Like, okay, I totally missed the joke.
But people say weird drinks all the time.
Yeah, and so that's why I just wasn't even thinking that she wanted me to, you know, cheer for her. Anyway, if someone says, can you make a whatever, ask them, remind me what's in that so you don't sound silly. Mm-hmm. And even though you might sound silly sometimes. And then be like, yeah, of course we can do that. And then when the bar says, no, we're not making that, then just say, oh, whatever the ingredient was that they listed. Oh, we're out of that today. Is there something else that I can get you? The bar recommends X, Y, and Z. Mm-hmm. That's my fave. And then the third thing I have listed is that when they're being demanding, I'll gently put them in their place and say something like, well, you know, unfortunately I only have 2 hands, but you know, if you want to get your drinks faster, I can give you access to the kitchen, you know, or something like that. Just kind of be like joking with them and playful and hope that they take it the right way, but also just kind of like, not to be mean, but just kind of be like, guys, come on.
Yeah.
I'm only one person.
I said something the other day. I think it was when I was hosting. These guys came up and we were on like a 45-minute wait. And I told them that. And they go, well, there's all these open tables. And I said, well, it's not really about space. It's about servers. So you're welcome to go sit in that table. Just no one's going to take your order. And then he was just so angry at me. And I was like, sir, I'm just being realistic. I said, we only have a couple servers working right now. And if you sit there, no one's in charge of that section. So you're not going to get service and you're going to be more upset. And then he hated that. He hated the answer, but it was the truth. Yeah. Like, what else was I supposed to say? That's why we had open tables. Yeah. And then the best was, like I said, I was hosting because I have a sprained ankle. And so I was on crutches. And the other hosts that were working, who were supposed to be like the people who usher the customers to the tables, they were nowhere to be found. I think that they went to go hang out with the other girl in the store. And granted, they asked me and I said, oh yeah, like if you just come back in a couple minutes. And so then I was taking people to the table on my crutches and they were like, oh, sorry. Like we just thought you were sitting there. And I'm like, oh no, I'd be standing if it wasn't for this.
You'd be serving actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it was just funny. I just think people are so oblivious and they don't realize things until they realize them.
Yeah. The best thing that I ever came up with one time was someone said, oh, do you have I think that they said, do you have a senior discount? I said, no, unfortunately we don't. And then they said, oh, well, do you have a locals discount? And I was like, no, unfortunately we don't. And then they're like, well, what discounts do you have? And I said, well, we've got an employee discount. There's a lot of dishes in the back if you want to wash.
That That is hilarious.
And that just kind of came out. And I was like, dang. And they laughed. They were funny the whole time, but I was just like, gosh, everyone's trying to get a deal.
That's funny. I haven't heard that one.
So we got an employee discount. There's some dishes in the back.
Yeah,
Gosh,
I
so
think
funny.
just like being super witty. Also, I think like being super, super nice when nobody else has been nice to people.
Yeah.
And like accommodating.
Yeah.
That definitely like came out when I was managing. But like like last summer when it was like the end of the night, these people showed up. It was a big group of people. And I don't really know what they wanted because I don't think that they ordered food from me. So they totally could have gone to the bar. But I think they just like wanted to sit on dining dock because it was like quieter and they had their drinks and stuff. And their check really wasn't that high at all. But I accommodated them and I still tended to them even though it was like the end of the night and like everyone said no. And then I printed out their check, he paid, and I think it was probably $100, but he tipped me $200.
The tip was $200
yeah.
rather than the total. Wow.
Yeah, and he wrote like, "Thank you, Lexie, so much for letting us sit in your section. You're
Wow.
great. Like, have a great night."
Wow.
And he wrote that on it. So, and they like disappeared too. Like I couldn't even thank them.
Yeah.
Because I was just waiting. I was like, okay, like whatever. I'll just do the rest of the stuff I have to do while I wait for them to get up and I can grab that and like leave. But it was like $200.
Wow.
That was one of the times that I cried because of a tip.
Yeah.
That's like the best. Because you can either cry because there was no tip or cry because the tip was so great.
Yeah. I had a similar situation. It was just a sweet couple and super busy. And they were super chill couple. Not a big deal. I think that their check was $80 and then they tipped me $100 on that. So it was over 100% tip.
Yeah.
And before I could even thank them, they were gone.
Yeah.
And she just wrote, "Yeah, thank you so much" at the top of the paper and just like blessed me with that little tip.
I know.
And, or not so little tip. And I was just like, dang, like the people who are the most generous, they just disappear.
vanish.
They just disappear. And it's just like, dang, like they don't want to be applauded for it. They don't really care. Like, but it's like, that extra like $100 like could have made a big difference.
Yeah.
So
totally.
it's just like, it's cool
Yeah.
to see that. My final question to you, actually I have two final questions. Do you think that you will continue working in a restaurant?
Oh, I don't know. I don't want to say like no, but I really don't think I want to because Puster's is so awesome and I don't think that I want to go anywhere else because the management is going to be completely different.
Yeah.
Even just comparing to the places I've already worked like previously, I don't think I want to in that regard, but also the money's just great. So like it's kind of hard to pass that up, but I don't really know. I don't really want to be stuck in the restaurant rotation. So I'm going to say no, but I'm not going to push it away completely because there could be a chance of me going back and like bartending somewhere. But I think that right now I'm in this weird position where I have a couple other jobs, but I definitely feel like I need the restaurant thing just because that's almost like guaranteed easy money, a couple $100 a couple nights a week. So that's awesome. I could apply for a place and be accepted, but I don't know if I can, like, I don't think I have the stamina for it right now because my ankle is so messed up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the good thing about the restaurant industry is that you could walk into any place downtown
Yeah, exactly.
and get a job like that.
Yeah.
So you don't have to make a decision.
No, I know.
But you're very good at it. And I think seeing you thrive in the hospitality space really just, I think, affirmed a lot of skills for you that you already knew that you had, but you've always been such a good people person. And it's just been really cool to like
well, and
see
I
you
would love
thrive.
to work in like a hotel, but I was just telling you, like,
You'd be such a good like cruise director.
Well, yeah, but and
Like,
I
well,
would,
yeah, duh.
I would love that, but I don't like the reality of the lifestyle is difficult. Like being a hotel front desk person, like the concierge, like you got to be able to work like really long hours and work on weekends, work on holidays, and like I don't know. I don't think that like I can do that.
Yeah,
selfishly.
that's fair.
Yeah. But like I have boundaries, and I don't think that I would break those boundaries. Like I want to be able to know, like, okay, well, I'm not going to have a shift on a Sunday morning, so I can go to church.
Yeah.
I'm not going to have a shift on Christmas Eve. I'm not going to have a shift on Christmas Day. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's tough to figure it out. So.
I agree.
What about you?
I'm kind of toying with different options.
Mm-hmm.
I think that I liked working at Pussers because I loved the people, I loved the management, and I loved working with you.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was probably the most fun, is that you and I just like
with you too.
had so much fun together.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that I would just be, I don't know if lonely is the right word, but I think I just wouldn't enjoy it as much because it wouldn't be like the same. But I know that we kind of have to like break away. And so I've just really been praying for like clarity on my next thing. Because obviously I have the podcast and like there's tons of exciting stuff happening with that. But I really just need to like trust that this is going to go the way that I need it to go.
Yeah.
And I just feel like I've hit so many walls and so many barriers that I just feel really discouraged.
Yeah.
And so if anyone has like words of encouragement for me, that'd be incredible, because I'm feeling very discouraged, which I know just means that like there's something good on the other side of that. But at the same time, I'm like, dang, I just don't really know. Like, do you ever just like pray so hard for something, but then you're just not sure like where God's actually calling you, or like if there's even like, because I'm always like, oh, I'm listening for the still small whisper, I'm listening for the right direction, for the nudge, for the urge, for the whatever it is, and I'm like, I just feel like I hear nothing.
Yeah.
I'm like, what am I doing wrong?
Yeah.
You know, do you have an answer?
No, because I feel that way too.
Yeah. If anyone has an answer, let us know. Give us a call. So anyway, that's kind of where I'm at, but I don't think that I'm never going to shoot it down.
Yeah.
Cause I went from, you know, a stable, on paper, 9-to-5 job to the podcast and just working at a restaurant. That was the best thing for me.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
And I think I'm finally ready to like develop. I'm ready to kind of put my foot in the door again for, I guess we'll call it a big girl job, quote unquote, to a degree. Because I do value my professional development. I do value like that, you know, sense of security to some degree. But then also it's like, is a big girl job secure?
Yeah.
Who's to say?
Yeah, because you could get fired at any moment. You could get laid off.
Yeah, but that's true with any job.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like you can't place all your eggs in one basket. But I do want to scatter my eggs to a degree.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just feel frustrated because like I really like my esthetician job, but again, like my book is so small, so I need something
Everyone needs
else.
to go book a spray tan with Lexie right now if you're in the Annapolis
but like
area.
I need something else, and I don't really know like where like my yoga thing is going right now, because I don't have anywhere to teach. And even if I could, or even if I did, I couldn't because of my ankle. And then, like I said, like I really don't want to go back to the restaurant world, but I might have to. But then it's like, it's slow season, bottom of the totem pole. Like retail doesn't sound great, but it doesn't sound horrible. So I don't know. I'm just like in a very, I'm just like stressed.
Yeah. I think that you and I have so many skills. I was revamping my resume today, and I was just like writing a cover letter and trying to do the resume. And I was like, dang, I feel like I have so many assets to bring to any company. And you do too, just because of the million things that we do. I'm like, this doesn't even fit on one page.
Well, yeah.
And then I'm like, how do you, applying for a job, how does the company really know me based off of this one page?
Well, that's the thing. Like if I apply to a company, then like how would I even surpass anybody else because I don't have a college degree?
Well, that's not a deal breaker.
Yeah, but I just don't feel like I have qualifications to apply to like a big girl job.
But do you want a big girl job?
I don't know. I mean, my esthetician thing is like my big girl job, I guess. Like I went to school for it.
Yeah.
I have a license for it, but it's just like, I mean, I know I've only been there for like 2 months, but like,
I think that you'll get to that point. That type of stuff takes a lot of build.
Just, I need patience for it.
Yeah. The one thing I will say is that if anyone listening has a opening at their job, I really am great at event planning, project management, communications. I don't want to do anything social media related. I absolutely do not want to do anything social media related. Fitness related, content writing, copywriting, educational materials. I should go be like a substitute teacher. I feel like that would be cool.
I would love to be a substitute teacher.
That'd be really fun. What are you good at? Go ahead and pitch yourself.
That's the problem. I don't really know what I'm good at.
Are you kidding? You're good at everything.
Like, I don't have confidence anymore.
What happened to you?
I don't know.
What? Are you about to cry?
I don't know.
Don't.
Like, I think that whenever...
Don't beat yourself down.
No, whenever we go back to this whole, like, job thing, like, I just get really in my head and feel like I'm not going to be anything because I don't have a college degree. And I know that that's just the devil telling me lies.
Lies.
But, like...
Lies.
Like, I can't even be a substitute teacher at a public school.
Do you want to be a substitute teacher at a public school?
No, but I'm just saying.
Then that doesn't disqualify that idea.
I'm just saying that that is something that's such a stupid job. I mean, obviously it's not a stupid job because it's a need, and I'm not even qualified for that.
Yeah, but think about how qualified you are to do so many other things. You're amazing at hospitality. You're amazing at people. You're an amazing fitness instructor. You light up every room that you walk into. Like anything in event planning or like people management, you would absolutely rock at.
Yeah, but like, where do I find that?
Just networking. Like someone listening to this could be an event planner in Annapolis and be like, you know what, actually, like we could really use a contact who is our go-to spray tan girl. Or we could really use someone who, I don't know, would you ever want to be like an assistant to something like wedding related? I don't know. Like watching you at like Liz's wedding, like that was awesome. You know, you did so many random like behind the scenes things that I didn't even think of, that bridesmaids didn't even think of, that you just started to do. You're like, oh, we need to plug her phone and we need to like do X, Y, and Z. Like you just were on a roll. And that was you being thoughtful of, hey, as a person, what is she going to need right now?
Yeah.
And that's why you're such a good server and bartender, because you are forward thinking of like, what does this person need? How can I serve them and make their experience the best it can possibly be in this moment? So don't get sad and discredit yourself. But someone listening, I kind of believe that someone listening is going to be like, you know, actually, I've listened to Lexie on the podcast and I follow her on Instagram and I feel like I have something for her.
Yeah, if you do, let me know.
Yeah.
Message me.
Yeah. And if someone's listening and has a project management or events or something, I would be happy to send my resume too. Yeah. Because I have the podcast, but it's like, I just need something more. Like we've been sitting here recording for an hour. It'll take me like a couple hours to edit it. And then like, that's my week. Like that, I can't have just the podcast.
Yeah.
Like I need something more
like,
in my life.
And like bills aside, like you need something with more fluff.
Yeah. All right. Well, my last question for you before we go is, what would you tell someone who is about to start working in that spot when it becomes a new restaurant? What would you want to tell them? And something nice.
I think I would say, like, I hope you appreciate this space as much as everybody else has.
Yeah, I agree.
Because, like, I feel like I can't even put into words, like, what it means to me.
Yeah.
And it was only my life for 3.5 years. So, like, I feel for all the people who it's been a part of their life for so much longer.
Yeah. A lot of the employees there have so much history. A lot of them,
if those walls could talk.
If those walls could talk, they would have a really good podcast. But, I mean, just people who have been there for all 30 years, you know. Yeah, and I've only been there for 1.5. And just the amount of love that I have for that place and for the people in it and for the memories made and for the friendships made, like that's really cool. So I think that that's a good little bit of parting words. So thanks.
Yeah. What would you say?
I would probably say, I think I have so many good things that I could say. If I could only give them one piece of advice, I would definitely just say, remember that the people who are coming in there have probably spent a lot of time there before, and they're going to reminisce.
Yeah.
So don't stop them from reminiscing, because they're going to be excited that the new spot's there, but they're also going to be like, dang, like, used to be my spot. This used to be where I met my best friend. This used to be like this spot right here. This is where I laughed with so-and-so about that funny thing that happened. You know, this is where I dared so-and-so to jump in and they did. Like, so there's going to be a lot of reminiscing, and like, don't rain on that parade.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Cause that place means a lot to a lot of people. All right, guys. Well, we are going to wrap it up. Thanks so much for listening, for letting us reminisce, for letting us, just kind of toss out our advice to anyone who might work in the restaurant, for letting us brainstorm careers and next steps for our lives. If you guys want to see more from the podcast, you can follow the show on Instagram at 8020pod. If you guys want to hang out with Lexie, do you want to plug your Instagrams?
SoulfulLex is my yoga Instagram. Lexie__aesthetics is my esthetician Instagram. And I have a personal account, but I don't really use it, so don't bother that one.
That's good. That's pretty much all we have for you guys today. Thanks for listening. Any last parting words?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Well, thanks for listening, guys.
All right. See ya.
Bye.